Karoline Leavitt resurfaced from her maternity leave, and not a day too soon or not a day too late, I guess, depending on your perspective of it. And I hope that Karoline regrets coming out of maternity leave specifically to go to Donald Trump's state fair. Here she is just hours ago this morning saying Americans really need to vote for this president. Wait a second, to vote for him when he's term limited, and for Republicans. Here is a new look Karoline Leavitt. She's back. And whoopsies, she imploded once again.
These are radical Marxist ideas that have never worked in the history of the world. And I think it's a choice coming up between communism and common sense. That's how the president views it. And that's why Americans need to vote for this president and the Republican Party and the common sense ideals that make this the greatest nation in the history of the world.
Do you think this helps the president and the Republican Party during the midterms, that they have decided in this Democratic Socialist Civil War that this is the new Democratic Party?
It certainly is. And you see Democrat elected officials right here on Capitol Hill, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, are afraid to stand up and speak out against these radical communists who are taking over their party. It's quite scary. But
You know, there is a real, I don't know that I would call it a battle, but there is a real discussion within the Democratic Party as to what the future of the party is. There are people who say the future is the same thing that it's been in the recent past. It's Schumer and Jeffries and people with their political views. There are others who say, no, the future is democratic socialism. And it is people like Graham Plattner and some of the folks that won the New York City congressional primaries last week. And there is a movement that says it's not a big deal that Plattner had a Nazi tattoo because he didn't know what it was. And it's not a big deal that one of the people who won in New York City went on October 8th to what became a pro-Hamas rally. And there are others who go, no, that does matter. And listen, these are conversations for Democrats to have and people who vote for Democrats to have. That's totally fine. The interest of Karoline Leavitt in that is only to attack the left no matter what. Because do any of us believe that if the Democratic Party were happy simply saying this is the Schumer-Jeffries party, do we think that then Karoline Leavitt would be going, no, it's a completely reasonable Democratic Party. They decided they want Schumer and Jeffries and that's cool. Of course not. Their interest in all of this is cynical and it is meant simply to boost themselves. And then she goes, and we got to go out and vote for the people who support Donald Trump or whatever. Of course, Americans are not voting for Trump in November, but they are voting for a lot of different Republicans. And I have been very clear about this. If you are one of these anti-Trump Republicans, and I know I have some of them in the audience, if you're an anti-Trump Republican and you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't like Trump, but I don't have a problem with my elected official. I'm going to vote for them. Go and check their voting record. And you will find, unless you are in one of a handful of congressional districts, you will almost certainly find, if you look at the voting of your elected officials in the House and Senate, that they vote the way Donald Trump wants them to vote almost all the time. And so don't fall for this whole thing of, well, I'm not voting for Trump, but I'm fine with my representative. Your representative is enabling Donald Trump. Your representative is rubber stamping Donald Trump. Okay, so let's go back to Karoline Leavitt. And she goes, no. Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner, they are great people. They are awesome. They are going to Doha to negotiate all of this stuff. And by the way, even though we're holding up the ceasefire, violence will be met with violence. That's really weird ceasefire language.
What was happening with Iran.
Sure.
And we know that over the weekend, fire exchange, they're bombing our bases in Bahrain and Kuwait. We have responded because they tried to, and they attacked two merchant ships over the weekend. Now, can you give us the latest?
Sure. Well, I just spoke with the president about it. Iran has requested a meeting this week, so Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be...
very special envoy. I mean, he's truly special.
Flying to Doha for high-level meetings this week as we continue to discuss the memorandum of understanding. On the sidelines of those high-level talks will be the technical talks. So as far as we're concerned, we're holding up our end of the ceasefire. Violence will be met with violence. As you mentioned, Brian, there were attacks on commercial vessels that the United States of America, directed by the president, responded to, and that...
Quite a contradiction. We're holding up our end of the ceasefire, and also violence will be met with violence. That is a very conditional ceasefire. Now, I'm not suggesting that what we need to be doing is looking away and going, we will never defend ourselves. Of course, that's not what I'm saying. But when you've already failed to end this thing 40 times, and every time it looks like negotiations are starting, Donald Trump goes, but we'll also destroy the country if we need to. Why are we pouring gasoline on the fire? And of course, it's really weird that Jared Kushner keeps playing this central diplomatic role when he supposedly is not really involved in the government. So how is foreign policy being structured? Well, people not even in the government seem to be highly involved in foreign policy. One more clip. Fox News found Karoline Leavitt at the failed state fair.
As we were walking around the National Mall Fairgrounds this weekend with a camera crew, we ran into a very special guest. This was not set up, and this is somebody that we have not seen in a while. So we're walking here. They've got all 50 states represented. We found somebody from New Hampshire.
Hi, guys. How are
Karoline
you?
Leavitt is back at work.
I am. Welcome to the Great American State Fair. What a beautiful day on the National Mall.
First question, how are you? How's the baby?
Amazing. She's great. She's at home right now, sleeping. I have my toddler son here, as you can see.
Anyway, isn't she just a delight? So Karoline Leavitt is back. She is imploding immediately. And if you were enjoying the respite from weaponized propaganda from the mouth of Karoline Leavitt, her machine gun lips, as Trump loves to say, she's going to be back, and it's going to get very, very ugly. If you've been paying attention to recent events, you've seen how the line between church and state is blurring, how religion can be brought into public life in ways that raise real constitutional questions. That doesn't just affect one issue. It shapes policy, it shapes rights, and how power operates broadly. Our sponsor, the Freedom From Religion Foundation, works to protect separation of church and state because it protects you and it protects me. As we approach the 250th anniversary of the United States, the question isn't just what we celebrate, it's what do we defend. Visit ffrf.us/David or text my name, David, to 511-511 to learn more or to join, because protecting that separation protects our rights. The info is in the description. Text fees may apply.